How's it going, YouTube? Coming in today with another video, and today what the bring to you is going to be the state of the game. And there's a lot of different things that I want to talk about with Anaheim coming up because we do get the new set crossover breakers, but I do not think that it's going to be as impactful without a ban list. We'll talk about why I think that way and what kind of cards I could see really popping up soon. If you haven't already checked my sponsors over at Imperium, Dragonshield, Gem, Cloud, RW, Grimoire, definitely go ahead and check them all out down below in the description. A lot of Black Friday sales going on right now, a lot of Cyber Monday sales about to be going on. Definitely want to make sure that you're a part of those because getting those discounts is everything, right? The other thing too is if you want to support me directly off TCGPlayer, my link is down below in the description. I appreciate all of you that have already used this. Just use the link down below, order all the cards you want, directly support the channel, and I really do appreciate it. So now what I want to talk about is going to be the fact that the TCG does not equal the OCG, and I cannot stress this enough. I do not think that Ryzeal is going to be as dominant as it is in the OCG. Not only do they have 7th Tachyon that can search the big jaws that people are playing to make Toad, but this card also helps you search any of your engine pieces, and it is just another card that you can get to for consistency because you play 7th Ascension and 7th Tachyon that we're not even going to get till March. And then they also have Scythe, so they're doing like Dagda lines for Scythe, and then going into Tornado Dragon and being able to pop Scythe. So there's a lot of like minimal boards that they're ending on as well. And I think that Ryzeal will do like okay just because of things that are out of our control usually, and that's how many people actually pick up the deck. Now, Ryzeal is going to be fairly expensive. It has a lot of URs. But then Malice, on the other hand, is going to be rather inexpensive. And we're probably going to see a lot of Malice and quite a bit of Ryzeal. I always say this before events. If people want the deck, they'll have the deck. It's just something that happens. They will have it. So that's something that you really got to think about because going forward, Fire King is still going to be the best deck. But if we start seeing a lot of the heavier hitters in the game just all picking up Ryzeal and going to the event, of course Ryzeal will have a better showing at that point because more people are choosing to play it. That's why we're seeing a lot of the Kashtira Fiendsmith right now. And I think that deck is very cool. I think that it has a lot of promise, and I think it could do well moving forward, dependent if we see a ban list with a Fiendsmith hit. I still think that we're going to get a ban list on the 3rd week of December, and that it's going to be in effect for January. Again, it's usually a slaughter list, so we'll have to wait and see what happens, but that's usually what is the scenario. But as far as popularity goes, it's also going to say that we don't have the Sun's Tachyon, we don't have the Scythe, so it's not going to be as strong. But, you know, Fire King is still a house. Like, even if you're popping cards out of Fire King, they still don't care, right? So that's something that you really got to keep in mind. Now, there's going to be other decks in the top cut, like the Kashtira Fiendsmith, I'm sure. But these are the totals of the decks in Top Cut that I think that we're going to end up seeing. And by Top Cut, I mean top 64. It could be top 32 even. But there's probably going to be like 2 Ryzeal and 1 Malice. I think that Malice is going to start off as the weaker deck. And we're not going to see that many tops out of it. Maybe 2 to 3 Ryzeal, but I think probably like 2. And then definitely like 3 Tenpai and 3 or 4 Fire King. And it could be vice versa for Tenpai as well. It could be 3 or 4. And I do think that Fire King takes Anaheim. And, you know, that's just because that deck is so crazy right now between the Azumina cards and the Snake Eye cards. Just goes a lot heavier than the Ryzeal package. So we'll see a lot of innovation in Ryzeal, I'm sure. I've already seen a lot of really cool ideas right now, especially with, like, going second list. You know, shout out to Triff for that with like the go second Malice. Inspired me to even make like a go second Ryzeal, like a striker Ryzeal, which is really fun. It's really good. Just main decking things like the Molcharmies and a lot of spells to just go ahead and break boards. I really do think that there's going to be a lot of innovation that we'll see. There's been a lot of time leading up to the event for people to really test things out and figure out what they want to do. So I'm definitely interested to see what comes out on top. But I do think that it still ends up just being Fire King. Moving past that, though, there's some tech cards here. I forgot Econ. Econ's okay. They can always pop their own detonator and then reborn it with the plugin. So you got to keep that in mind. One of the cards I really do like right now is Reaper. Because you cannot reborn a banished detonator with plugin. Because if you Reaper it, it wasn't summoned properly, and Ryzeal has 0 ways of getting back to Detonator. Like, their cards are just gone if you Reaper them. So especially if you're in a mirror match, I think that Reaper is one of the most deadly cards right now because, again, there's no way that you can get your cards back. And the amount of people who will have the Reaper crossout target are really low. And I've already seen a lot of people come off of crossout. I think crossout will still end up being popular, but it's a really good option right now. I think Reaper is pretty solid. So that's something to keep in mind. It's definitely a very interesting card. Never going to be like the craziest card. It's usually the best on like a tier 0 format when there's like a specific card you have to go into. So like, let's say it's Ryzeal tier 0 and then you're just hitting detonators all day. You're in a really good position. But beside that, if you're playing a deck like Ryzeal and you want to be able to protect your detonator, it's very reminiscent of cash format with the Rise Heart. You're just playing Lance for things like Ultimate Slayer or Econs or Talents, just making sure that your opponent's not able to take away your star card, right? The other thing too is I'm really big on playing cards that are good going first and second. So cards like Chalice or Book of Moon, I still don't like Eclipse at all. I think that playing like Book of Moon is fantastic. The other one, though, is Chalice. I think Chalice is great because it gives you the option to hit a detonator on your turn or hit a detonator on their turn if you need to, or like a duo drive. So Chalice is just something that gives you that versatility that I think is really prime and something that we don't really see too much of. But Chalice definitely goes in and out of formats quite frequently, and I really do like this card. The other thing that might seem kind of silly, but I've seen it a lot lately, and even I play it in my side deck for 10 pi. Solemn Strike is still a house. If you set Solemn Strike, A, no one sees it coming. B, the card is just a menace. Like, if they summon something and you just clear the body and it just doesn't summon, it's pretty effective. Or if you let them use the effect and then you Solemn Strike, there's not a whole lot that they can do about that, right? And I think that's really special with this card, where a lot of people are not on, like, back row blowout right now, so you're kind of safe to just go ahead and set cards right now, which is really nice. So that's something to really keep in mind. Solemn Strike at the moment is looking really prime. I always like Scolding as well, so that's something you want to do. You can play that card, but it has to be the only card you have set, which is unfortunate. But I really do like Solemn Strike right now, for sure. Triple Tactics Talent is looking like it's going to be a mandatory 3 of next format, especially going into Anaheim. This is a card that would not be anywhere in my side deck. It wouldn't be out of my deck. It would be a mandatory 3 of in my main deck. I think this card is so strong, and it gives you so many options. And, you know, it's going to go back to those times where even in Striker, we'd play a random Zeus in our extra deck because we play so many steel cards. And I think that's going to be the same thing again, is if you're playing a deck that has the extra slot, you're always playing Zeus, because if you're stealing their detonator or you're stealing their duo drive, you're just making Zeus. And that's just kind of where we're at the moment. I think Talent is just so special right now. I think this card is so good at being able to steal your opponent's monster and then force a battle phase and force your opponent off of a lot of cards. It's very, very solid. Overall, I do think that this card should be in your main deck. And you'll kind of see that in testing too. This card is just so prime. But make sure you own a playset of this. If you're looking for the new Exo-Sister into the format, if Ryzeal becomes the better deck, Labyrinth just 110% dumpsters Ryzeal. It's rough. Being able to keep looping D-Barrier and having cards like Daruma Cannon is really tough to deal with. I think that Labyrinth is like the most ignorant deck ever. I hate Labyrinth with a passion. This deck is annoying. But at the same time, it is a very good option in Ryzeal. If you plan on playing any kind of a graveyard deck, make sure that you have something like an Ycs Encore, because you're going to have to answer a Dweller, either the Encore or like a Droplet. But Dweller will be in everyone's extra deck that is playing Ryzeal, and that's something that you really want to be on top of because of the fact that this card can be so detrimental, and it is rough to deal with. I do not like lingering floodgates, Shifter, Dweller, Lancia, Droll. All these cards that just do not need to exist, right? Even the Mulcharimies, I think they're all unhealthy for the game. But this is just another card that's going to rotate back into the format, so make sure that you have a game plan for this. And I do think that this is like one of the things that will give Ryzeal an edge in the Fire King matchup if they get to go first. But I still think that deck is going to be deadly enough that it will end up winning. Fire King Azumina Snake Eye is just so broken. Follow my Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, join my Discord, and subscribe to the channel. I hope that you all have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you on the next video. Thank you.